with only those who are present. So latecomers can just watch the video. Let me stop the transcription and then mute everyone. So before I start, I'm hoping you can hear my voice loudly.
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. I also hope you can see the slides.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
That's fine. So let's move on. Yeah, so today we are looking at types of discourses. Types of discourses. In our last class, we had ended by discussing problems with definitions. We had seen various ways in which definitions could be problematic. Today we want to look at types of discourses and what is a discourse. Sometimes when we write, we put individual sentences together for different purposes. A collection of sentences is called a passage or discourse. So a discourse is also called a passage. So basically, when you are looking at a collection of sentences, you are looking at a discourse or a passage. Now we shall distinguish passages that are arguments and those that are not. So the bottom line of this exercise is to distinguish argumentative passages from those that are not. Since we are in the business of argumentation, we are focusing most of our early energies now to singling out things that are not argumentative, and placing them in the categories where they belong, because that is also essential in the business of critical thinking. Argument. A discourse is called an argument if it contains a claim or conclusion that is supported with reasons or information. So if there's a claim, which is also technically a conclusion and claim are technically the same. If there's any of those, and it is supported with reasons or information, then that's an argument. Those are the two components of an argument. An argument contains at least two items: a conclusion, which could also be a claim or decision, and then expressions aimed at providing support or proof for the conclusion, claim, or decision. So conclusion, claim, decision are all the same. They all pass through the same process. They need to be supported with reasons, information, or premises. So technically speaking, they constitute the same sort of end in the argumentative process. Example of argument. Ghanaian men think women don't deserve to occupy high positions. They question the competence and qualification of women who are sent to high office, but refrain from doing same to even incompetent men. Okay. Therefore, Ghanaian men do not respect women. Now, if you look at these three sentences or statements, you notice that the third one is a conclusion. And then the first two are reasons being provided for the conclusion. So statements 1 and 2 are serving as information, evidence, or reasons to support statement 3. For attempting to support statement 3, these statements are called premises. Statement 3, which is being supported, is called conclusion. So that's technically an argument. Now, identifying arguments. The first thing is to learn to identify an argument. Now, in identifying arguments, there are certain basic things we need to watch out for. Give me a few seconds. Let me get something. Okay, so we are talking about identifying arguments. The first thing in identifying arguments is that there are certain words or phrases that immediately show you are looking at an argument. There are two types. We have premise indicators. We have those that tell you are looking at a premise, and then we have those that tell you are looking at a conclusion. Now, the ones that tell you are looking at a premise, we call them premise indicators. When you see these words or phrases, you know you are looking at a premise. If you see them in a sentence, especially at the beginning of a sentence, then such a sentence is a premise. Okay, so the following words, for. When you see for at the beginning of a sentence, then it means that the statement or the sentence is being given as a reason for something else. For, granted that, in view of the fact that, as much as, since, it is a fact that, one cannot doubt that, because. Now, this one is most explicit. The reason is that. The reason is that. So that's the most explicit of them. As shown by the fact that these are premise indicators. They tell you are looking at a premise. And then you have the conclusion indicators. You have therefore, consequently, hence, asserting that, for this reason. These are, these tell you are looking at a conclusion. But you must not see these things in an argument. In fact, most arguments don't contain them. They are just used for emphasis. They are not necessary. They are not necessary in sentences that compose arguments. It's only when people feel like that they add them. So you need to learn to identify arguments without these indicators. And of course, you wouldn't expect to see indicators in your examination. Then we have non-arguments. Not every passage or cluster of propositions is an argument. Some passages are non-argument, including narratives, instructional passages, rhetorical polemic, or opinion. Okay, so we'll begin with narrative. A narrative is a passage that reports a sequence of events according to the order the events occurred. A passage reporting a sequence of events according to the order they occurred. So, example, over the course of 2 weeks, some police officers have been observed stopping and checking cars in the area between Sawam and Anyinam on the Accra-Kumasi Road. They extort money and abuse motorists who question the authority, brandishing AK-47 assault rifles and dressed in heavy police gear. These officers do not just check cars, they also assault some motorists and passengers. So this is a narrative. It's a collection of factual statements, according to a certain order. So it's like a story. That's a narrative. Then you see instructional passage. Instructional passage is a passage that describes a process or sequence of things to do in a specific order. A process of sequence of things to do in a specific order. So it's technically a collection of imperatives. It offers a list of directives to follow to accomplish some desired effects. The example below offers a list of directives on how to use a fire extinguisher. Example: pull the pin, aim the nozzle at the base of the fire. Aiming at the top of the flame with a extinguisher won't be effective. In a controlled manner, squeeze the trigger to release the agent. Sweep the nozzle from side to side until the fire is put out. So this is an instructional passage, a collection of imperatives or imperative sentences in a certain order. Okay. Then we have rhetorical polemic. This is a passage communicating a usually strong feeling and persuasively vents an opinion. Example: I hate these lab tests. I hate these lab tests. That's an emotive expression. Every time I'm exposed to disease plants, I fall ill. Now that's a claim. I'm sure they hate me or they're punishing me. That's an emotive expression. It's disgusting how I get sick so often. Emotive expression. So you have about 4 emotive expressions, including a claim. So basically, rhetorical polemic is a collection of emotive expressions. A passage that communicates, feeling, and that, it's composed of emotive expressions and could contain a claim, could include a claim or claims, So that's a rhetorical polemic. Now you can see it is different from an argument. An argument contains a conclusion or claim supported by premises, but rhetorical polemic contains emotive expressions which could include a claim or claims. So there could be claims in both argument and rhetorical polemic, but in argument the claim is supported. In rhetorical polemic, it is not supported. It's just accompanied by emotive expressions. A little exercise. Name 4 types of discourses studied in this chapter. 4 types of discourses. So anyone, before I answer them myself. 4 types of discourses. So 4 types of discourses: argument, narrative, instructional passage, rhetorical polemic. What is an argument? An argument is a passage containing a conclusion or claim supported with reasons, information, or evidence. List the components of an argument. Components of an argument are conclusion or claim and premises, supporting premises. Distinguish between argument and rhetorical polemic. An argument is a passage containing a claim or conclusion supported with reasons, information, or evidence. A rhetorical polemic is a passage containing rhetorical, emotive expressions and could include a claim or claims accompanying those emotive expressions. Now that's it about types of discourses. Yes.
So you said arguments consist of claims and premises, but we learned that premises are the same as claims.
No, premises are not claims. Okay, so premises are reasons given for claims, Now, one claim could support another, but the supporting claim would be called a premise. So the conclusion, which is a claim, the conclusion is usually a claim, and then the premises, supporting reasons, evidence, or information. Of course, they could appear as claims, but they are technically called premises, while the one that serves as conclusion is called conclusion. So when you see claims as either a conclusion or a premise, then you should know whether the claim is a premise or a conclusion. Now, if you look at the example of the argument we saw, you can see that statements 1 and 2 could also be claims. But when you look at the 3 statements, then you see that they are supporting another claim, which is a conclusion.
Thank you.
Yeah, welcome. So now we're looking at disagreements or disputes in the business of critical thinking. Argumentation is a very central, well, let's not say central. It's not the central focus of critical thinking, but it is one of the major, points. It's one of the major areas where critical thinking plays a role. Okay, so we're training you guys to use critical thinking in your entrepreneurial research activities and decision making. And then those who are going into the legal profession to use critical thinking in their arguments and argumentative reasoning. So argumentation is not the center of critical thinking, but it's a prominent role. Another major focus of critical thinking is other kinds of reasoning. Reasoning applied to other activities, including administrative, entrepreneurial, academic, political, and all other activities. Now, argument is a significant category of activities where critical thinking is needed. And when you come to argument, you talk about disagreements play a critical role in argument. And when you talk about disagreements, there are 2 kinds of disagreements. You have verbal disagreement, and then you have the substantive disagreement. So the verbal disagreement of dispute is a disagreement about the meaning of a word or words. Disagreement about the meaning of a word or words. Example, that man is a fanti. No, he's not a fanti, he's an Akan. So when someone disagrees that someone is a fanti because he thinks the person is an Akan, then the person doesn't know that a fanti is an Akan. So something is missing, that someone doesn't understand the meaning of, the full meaning of fanti. When the person understands the full meaning of fanti, then this disagreement disappears. So we call it verbal disagreement, and logicians don't regard verbal disagreements as real disagreements. They don't give it the status of real disagreements because they think that it doesn't belong, it shouldn't be a disagreement. Meanings need to be sorted out. Now, second example, she is a Christian because she receives Holy Communion. No, she's not a Christian because she does not speak in tongues. So someone is arguing that someone is a Christian because the person receives Holy Communion, and someone else thinks that Holy Communion doesn't make someone a Christian. It is whether she speaks in tongues or not. And so the disagreement is about what it means to be a Christian. So if we could sort out the meaning of being a Christian, then this argument should not take place. Now, this particular verbal dispute might be a little bit more challenging to resolve compared to the first example, but it is still a verbal disagreement. Then we have the substantive disagreement or substantive dispute. So which logicians call real disagreement or real dispute. So the real dispute, is the substantive disagreement about facts or values. Now, the substantive disagreement is disagreement over facts or values. So they are actually either a factual disagreement or a value disagreement. Now, example of factual disagreement. Accra is the capital of Ghana. No, Kumasi is the capital of Ghana. So that's a factual disagreement. You resolve it by verifying the facts, finding out what the facts are. So this might not be a disagreement in Ghana because we know the capital of Ghana, but it might be a disagreement in China or Russia. Then example of value or disagreement over values. Accra should be the capital of Ghana. No, Accra should not be the capital of Ghana. So that one is a disagreement over people's preferences and values. Someone would prefer that Accra is the capital. Someone else would prefer that Accra is not the capital. And the preferences are usually based on value systems. Your preference is based on what you value or what you value more in comparison to something else. So disagreements over values should be a bit more difficult to resolve compared to resolving factual disagreements, because to resolve disagreement in values, you need to find out the values of those who are disagreeing, because that will be a starting point in trying to see why they are differing, Okay. Now, a little exercise. Determine whether the following disagreement is verbal or real. Sandra says, that man is quite old. He died at 50. And Comfort says, you call that old? He died young. Is it a verbal or a real disagreement? Anyone? Richard and Lonesy.
Sir, please, I think it's a verbal dispute.
Okay, so why do you think it's a verbal dispute? Yeah, so explain, please, why it's verbal. Unless you want someone to
I want to take pillow.
help with that.
I want to take pillow. And I was hearing what you were saying. Pillow.
Yeah.
I've taken it though.
Okay, so is there anyone who can explain why he or she thinks it's verbal?
Hello, sir.
Yes, go ahead.
I think there is a disagreement between the word old.
Disagreement about the word old.
Yeah, about the word old.
Okay, so the meaning of old is not settled, or let's say what is entailed by old is not settled. So, and that is why there is a disagreement. So Sandra thinks that, sorry, so Sandra thinks that old is 50, and Comfort thinks that old is more than 50, and that 50 should not be classified as old. And so I think the disagreement is about what old entails, just about the disagreement about what being a Christian entails. So it's a verbal disagreement. Okay. So any questions? Now we have discussed types of discourses, and then we have seen types of disagreements. Now, when we end this class, I'm going to upload the video to the resources folder of your Sakai, so that and then I will see if your course rep can have it, so that you can have it on your WhatsApp platform as well. Okay. So any questions before we close? Robert has his hands raised. Cephas. Cephas and Prince. So we'll begin with Cephas. Yeah, Cephas, you can go ahead. You need to unmute your mic.
Please, can we get one example of the real disagreements, real disputes?
Well, we gave you one, unless you hadn't joined when you saw it.
Okay.
The dispute about whether Accra should be the capital of Ghana or not is a disagreement about values. And then your normal disagreements about who should be the next president of the country is a value disagreement. It is a difference in preferences, which also arise from different values. Okay, and then Prince, you have a question, Prince?
Yes. So please, I'm finding difficult to understand the differences between the claim and the premises.
Between what and what?
The claims and the premises and claims.
Well, I can't explain that to you. I can't explain claims. You need to find out the meaning of claims and find out the meaning of premises, find out the meaning of conclusion, look at the three of them and see how claim relates to each of them,
Thank you.
Bright.
Yeah. So please, I don't really get the difference between the real and the verbal.
Yeah, so the verbal arises from confusion about the meaning of a word. And then the real disagreement is usually about either facts or values. Disagreements over facts or values, but not about the meaning of anything. So this is, let's say we've come to the end of the class, and I'm going to have to stop the recording and start uploading it to your resources. So I hope that in a few minutes you'll be able to watch the video and then tell all latecomers and absentees to take advantage of the video. So now let me proceed to stop sharing and to stop
With the
the recording.